the host guarantee, the host protection insurance program, and the resolution center or desk. That's the subject of this video. Welcome everyone, my name is Fernando David, and this is a continuation of the last video that I put out where we discuss how to identify and avoid getting bad guests. Today, we're going to be discussing what your protections are or what Airbnb provides you to protect you as a host. All right, let's discuss the two programs. The host guarantee. The host guarantee protects your property from damages, okay? It's not an insurance company or it's not an insurance. The host protection insurance is an insurance, and that protects you from third-party liability and or damages. Here's the difference between the two. And I'm going to give you a scenario so that you can see how they apply. Let's say that a guest is playing baseball in your backyard. That guest hits a ball. That ball goes through your neighbor's window, hits your neighbor on the head, causing the neighbor to sustain a head injury. That neighbor turns around and sues you for damages and for the injuries or medical bills. In that instant or in that case, your host protection insurance will cover you. Let's change that scenario to the guest hitting the ball. It goes through your window and smashes your television. In that instant, your host guarantee covers you. Again, this one is third party, this one is yours. That's the difference. One is an insurance, one is not. If there are any questions regarding these two, just list them below or DM me on Facebook. All right, now let's discuss what's covered in these programs. As the obvious one is damages, but here's the key. Damages due to negligence. You have to prove to Airbnb that the damages that were caused on your property were done by the guest's negligence. In my scenario, with the guest hits the ball and goes through your window, that's pretty easy to prove. But I'm going to give you an example or two examples in which it's a little gray and you may not get reimbursed for. One, which is fairly common, is when a guest breaks a chair in your house. For example, the guest notifies you, hey, I sat down on this chair and the chair broke. Okay. In that instant, you're going to have a hard time proving that the guest broke the chair through negligence. So you may not get reimbursed for that. Another example that's very common are picture frames. So I don't know if you noticed, but when you go to a hotel, the picture frames in the rooms are screwed on. You can't move them, okay? So in your house, if you don't do the same, if you just hang them like normal people do, just hang them and they fall and they break, most likely you will not get reimbursed for that. Okay. Next item are stolen items. Stolen items are covered, but they're only covered if you can prove that the guest stole it. This is why in all my videos, I almost always mention you should have video cameras on the exterior of your property because you have to show that the guest went into the house and left with your TV, right? Next is loss of revenue. This one a lot of hosts miss because they don't realize that they're covered by the host guarantee. And here's what loss of revenue is, or an example of where you can get reimbursed. The most common is when guests refuse to check out on time. If your checkout time is at 11 and it is noted on your description and you let the guest know prior to checkout that checkout's at 11 and they refuse to do so and they don't check out till let's say 3 p.m. and you have a guest coming in, if that guest is prevented from coming in because of the prior guest, then you can get reimbursed if you have to give the guest coming any type of money or any type of reimbursement. So that's loss of revenue. Another example of loss of revenue is if the guest creates so much damage to your property that you can't relist it until you get those damages fixed, then you're going to be covered for lost revenue. So make sure when you ask for reimbursement, besides the damages, you want to ask for or include your lost revenue. The last one is liability. And I'm going to use the chair example on this one. Again, the guest sits on the chair, but this time when it breaks, the guest gets injured. Now the guest sues you for the medical bills. In that instant, you're covered, and you're covered by the insurance program. If you have any questions on what's covered, then just go ahead and list questions below, or again, ask me through DM, either Facebook and Instagram. All right, now let's talk about the resolution center, or desk, like I like to call it. Here's what you need to do if a guest refuses to pay. In all of these situations, you're only going to resort to this if the guest refuses to pay, and Airbnb is going to ask you to do that anyway. So let's go back to my chair incident. The chair breaks, the guest notifies you that the chair is broken, you tell the guest that it's going to cost you X to replace it, and if the guest tells you, I am not going to pay that, so now you're going to escalate that situation to the resolution center. Here's what you need to do. You need to, if you did that, or you had that conversation via phone, you need to go onto the platform and message the guest and say something to the effect of, per our conversation, we believe that you're responsible for the damages to the property, and we're requesting X. The Airbnb is going to give the guest 72 hours to respond to that, or to decide whether or not they're going to pay you. After that 72 hours, if they don't respond, you need to ask Airbnb now to pay you either via the protection insurance or the host guarantee. And they're going to ask you to submit the following, right? They're going to ask you to submit photo, video, receipts or invoice, proof of ownership, and if it's an incident like vandalism or stolen item, then a police report. Once you submit that information up, Airbnb is going to send you an email confirmation letting you know that they received your request and that they're going to forward that request to a community support specialist. At that point, once the specialist gets it, which normally takes a few days, you're going to receive a second email giving you the name of that specialist, and they're going to let you know they're reviewing the case. Once they review it, they're going to tell you whether they approved it or disapproved it, and you can decide what to do next. If they approved it, no problem. If they disapprove it, here's my suggestion. The Airbnb support specialist, or let me backtrack. There's, in this part right here, because you have multiple specialists from different parts of the world, it's very inconsistent, or at least that's been my experience. If you get a disapproval, my suggestion is to go ahead and resubmit the request, because the next specialist may come in, read it, and say, no, I disagree with the other one, and I'm gonna go ahead and approve it. Very slim, but I've had it happen in which, or I've seen it happen in which it was disapproved once, but then it got reapproved afterwards. It's like that saying, the squeaky wheel always gets the most attention. Be very vocal. If you feel you are in the right, be very vocal. I hope you found this information useful. And if you like the content, please subscribe, share, like, and follow us on Instagram.